Hello, everybody. This is your favorite Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. This is your co-host, Mike-EL, and as always, I'm joined by...
Mike-EL of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right, and this week, this is a very special occasion because for the second time ever, I have a guest host from Canada. Say hello, special guest.
Hi.
It's G.I.JOLIE.
Yep. So anticlimactic.
G.I.JOLIE. Guest as last time. I don't have many friends that read comics. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, Jolie, you're one of our returning guests, though. Last week, or the last time we had Miles Watson on, Mike-El, I said he was our first return guest, but I forgot about cousin Brandon.
That's right.
He did Secret Wars and the Infinity Crisis. So now, Jolie, you're joining that rare club of two-time guests.
We're in the what does SNL have? They have a 5.
Yeah, you get a smoking jacket if you get the 5.
I want mine to be crushed purple velvet.
Done and done. Get on that, Mike-El.
All right.
So, Jolie, since you're the guest, Mike-El let you make the pick. This was supposed to be a Mike-El pick.
Oh, wow. I feel so fortunate.
Well, so do I.
Okay, great.
Because we missed out on a Mike-El pick, so I'm very grateful.
I hear you don't like
list, so technically this would have been picked.
All right. So, Jolie, tell the kids what you picked.
I having no... Do you know, I just used my year of birth and I plugged that in and I said, okay, which one do you want? And there's so many things that happened in 1984. But one really great thing that happened in 1984 was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were brought to life. I guess they were they were thought of in 1983, but really they created the comic in 1984. So I went with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, number 1, published by Mirage Studios. Yes.
Yeah. Now, Mike-El, were you a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan? Like, did you read the books?
I actually had about maybe 4 or 5 issues of the black and white series when I was a kid that I got like a couple years later. And then I remember I had a few issues of the Archie Comics one, the one that was like kind of more for kids. And then I used to watch the cartoon a little bit, but it was a little bit past my time, you know? So I was never obsessed with it. But I also saw the first 2 movies in the theater. I remember that.
Yeah, I saw the first one.
So I definitely know the Turtles, yeah. Sure.
Jolie, did you have history with the comic book, or were you just like a cartoon kid?
I had no history with the comic book. I was a video game kid.
Oh.
So, yeah, I grew up playing the video game on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm going to be strung up for that one.
I don't think I had the Super, but I remember playing the one, I guess it was just regular Nintendo, where you could be like any of the 4 turtles, right? You could pick a turtle and, right? Is that, and there was like a big, I remember there's a map, you had to go and do different things, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find more information about it. I just remember like all of the boys that I grew up with, all of them kind of reconvening in one of their bedrooms, whoever had like a console. And I would just sit there and watch, and they would all pick characters until all of them died. And I was like the only one who would get on that controller and just like destroy everything.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah. Quick fingers.
Quick fingers.
For all 3 buttons.
I also remember there's a very famous Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game as well. That was very popular.
Yes, I did not grow up in an arcade because I grew up in the country, but I hear about this game all the time, and I want to find it and I want to play it.
Now, I never read any of the comic books at all growing up. I think I first learned about them through the cartoon and then the movie, of course, but... So I'm kind of like Mike-El. I mean, I liked them, but they were like, you know, a little younger than we were at the time. Like, Mike-El and I are much older than usually. So
much older.
Yeah. So we were trying to be cool and hip in high school when Turtles were real popular. But I'll say this, reading this book, the comic, I always heard the comic was different than the cartoon and stuff, but it's much more serious and violent and like reality based, even though they're talking turtles, than like the cartoon. Like there's no cowabunga dude, there's no pizza loving stuff, none of that nonsense. They are ninjas and they are very serious about it.
They are. The whole persona of them that was created, like with them loving pizza and them being like actual teenagers, was meant to appeal to like a younger audience after the rights were sold for the cartoon. So, I mean, I can definitely see the appeal because it appealed to me as a child. And I watched. I was looking back through the episodes of the cartoon and I realized I've watched much more of the cartoon than I remember. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, you're right. For the most part, they kept it relatively the same. The Foot's there, Shredder's there, Splinter's their sensei. They live in the sewers. They're just a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, more kid friendly. And I guess we should mention for those who don't know who the turtles are, there were 4 turtles. There are Donatello. Well, Leonardo is the leader. He has the samurai sword. Raphael is kind of like the bad boy, the more aggressive fighter of the group. He has the size like Elektra. Then you have Michelangelo with the nunchucks. And again, these personalities are more in the cartoons, but he's like the typical teenager. He likes to have fun. He's wacky. And then Donatello has the bow staff, and he's like the smart one, the intellect of the group. Now, Jolie, who was your favorite turtle?
I don't have a favorite turtle.
Oh my goodness.
Because they didn't name one after Sandro Botticelli. So
well, here's the deal. Yeah, we should mention their names. Well, there's so much to talk about here. But originally, the creators, Eastman and Laird, they considered giving them Japanese names, but it wasn't working. So then they went with the Renaissance artist names. But Jolie, did you know in 1997-98 there was a TV show, a live-action turtle show called Ninja Turtles: The New Mutation? Are you aware of this?
No, 1997. No.
Yeah, 97-98. And during that show, there was a female turtle.
Wait. I think I know about this girl.
Venus de Milo.
Ugh.
And Mike-El, do you know how you could tell she's a female turtle?
Because she wore.
Did she have a bra? I don't know.
She had breasts.
Really?
And her turtle chest plate, because I hate to break it down for you, but female turtles, you can't really tell because they're breasts. That's not how you can tell. But the female turtle, Venus de Milo, you could tell because she had breasts. So she's a female turtle.
I'm going to look this turtle up. Hold on.
Yeah. So there you go. That show only lasted the 1 season, and it wasn't very successful. So
she was discovered by a shinobi magician called Chung the First.
Chung the First. Yeah. I guess the thing was she was in that jar with them. But she got washed away in the sewer and went into like a different part of the city. She
got washed away to Chinatown.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome.
And I guess this was, of course, and I guess Laird and I read some quote about Eastman and Laird or something when they were talking about the later movies when they were trying to make a movie. Laird was very passionate about no one ever mentions Venus de Milo.
Really?
He was not happy about this, that they brought in a 5th turtle. So,
yeah, well, that was a mistake anyway.
All right. Yeah, so maybe let's talk about the creators here, because we need to talk about how these turtles came into existence. We mentioned Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. I think they were up in Northampton, Massachusetts at the time, and maybe Dover, New Hampshire also plays a role in this. I don't know, because Laird was working there.
The comic convention that they brought the book to was in New Hampshire.
Okay, that makes sense.
The reprint that I read includes like it's sort of like a foreword by the person who ran that convention and was just like totally shocked that these 2 kids used their income tax money to like fund the printing of it. There's like 4 or 5 boxes and.
Well, they weren't kids technically.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, Eastman was 22 at the time, so he was a kid. But Laird was actually 8 years older, so he was 30 when all this was happening. And I think it's interesting if you look at how their careers went and the kind of the mistakes they made. Eastman was kind of like young and ambitious, so he had success right out of the gate. He's like, "Oh, I can do anything," and it didn't really work out that way. But Laird is the older fella. He was more, measured in what he tried to do. So, but yeah, Eastman's uncle gave them a loan of $1,000. And that's how they were able to put the first book together. And they also used this tax return money, like Jolie said. And the original idea was to parody 4 popular books. Mike-El, could you guess the 4 books they were trying to parody?
Sure. I'm going to guess Teen Titans, X-Men, and Daredevil.
Well, that's only 3. We wanted 4, but that's okay.
Wait. Okay.
Canadian math. I understand. Only 3.
Dave Sims Cerebus.
That is actually one of them. Daredevil was another one. New Mutants. It was New Mutants was for the teenage part. And then Frank Miller's Ronin was the other one there.
Yeah, I always thought there was a little bit of Daredevil, though, in this, obviously. You could.
There's a lot of Daredevil.
Yeah. But I was also thinking Ronin for sure, yeah.
Because actually, the Turtles' origin, we talked about this before in the show when we did a Daredevil issue back in the day, but their origin is rooted into Daredevil's origin. When Matt Murdock dives across to save the old man from the truck and the chemical spill happens, that same chemical spill is what makes these turtles. It knocks a kid holding a bottle of turtles. It knocks it out of his hand. It goes into the sewer. The same chemicals that blind Matt Murdock mutate the turtles down in the sewer. So without Daredevil, there are no, they're all connected in that way. And also their villain is the Foot Clan. And of course in Daredevil it's the Hand.
Right.
Their teacher is a rat named Splinter. Daredevil's mentor was a guy named Stick.
Yep.
So, yeah. That's how it all goes together. So that was the original print run of the issue 1. They printed 3,275 issues, and the duo, like Jolie mentioned, they called their studio Mirage Studios, and they chose that name because there really was no studio. It was all Mirage. It was just them and their kitchen table. So that's why they picked that. Laird had worked in the newspaper business. He was drawing like comics for newspapers. So he said, "Hey, we need to put together a press kit." So they sent out a press kit to 180 media outlets, and that really ramped up the attention, and people put in orders for 15,000 comics. In the end, Laird and Eastman each made $2,000 in profit from that first issue, and that was enough money to keep them going. So they decided to make more issues, because it was only supposed to be a one-off.
Wow.
And we should mention, usually there's a writer and an artist. They were both artists and they were both writers. They both collaborated equally on everything. So.
Yeah, that's something I could never figure out who was doing what, but okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, they were both drawing it. In 1987, they met with Playmates Toys, and that led to them hooking up with the Murakami, Wolf and Swenson animation studio, and that started the cartoon, and that's where the things got softened, like we mentioned, for the young audience, and that's when they really became popular. And they started with an animated miniseries, and then that got picked up by CBS, and then the animated series ran for 10 seasons until 1996.
Jeez.
And everyone, Jolie, I'm sure you remember the theme song. Would you like to sing the theme song for us?
Absolutely never.
Mike-El, I'm sure you remember the theme song.
I remember it. It was like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? And then it
Here's
was...
in a nutshell, turtle power. Yeah.
Well, the guy who wrote that song was a fellow named Chuck Lorre. Do you know who Chuck Lorre is?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An actor, right?
Well, the big TV producer, and he produced The Big Bang Theory, Two and a Half Men, stuff. And,
Okay.
Chuck
So
Lorre.
he's been at the studio since the dawn of time.
Well, he was back then. He was writing. He's a songwriter. He actually wrote a song for Blondie.
Oh, wait.
Really? Wow.
And so he was working, he got a gig with that animation studio writing the theme song for there. And then he made his way up into TV production and whatnot. So the first movie then came out in 1990. And Jim Henson's Creature Shop designed the costumes. Each costume weighed 70 pounds.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
So cool.
And he died shortly after that. That was like one of the last things he did, was doing the Ninja Turtles costumes.
Aww.
And that became the highest grossing independent film of all time. It grossed $202 million against the budget of $13.5 million. The Blair Witch Project eventually broke that record, but still at the time, the highest grossing independent film ever. And do you know who the voice of Donatello was in the film?
It was Corey Feldman or Corey Haim?
Corey Feldman. That is correct.
Okay.
I did not know that. Because I can't remember anything about the movie. And then I mentioned the Next Mutation series with the female turtle. That was 97 and 98. And then the Turtles were off TV until 2003, when a new animated series started on Fox Box, or 4Kids TV, and that ran for 7 seasons. And then in 2009, Nickelodeon, as a subsidiary of Viacom, purchased the rights from the Mirage Group for $60 million.
Wow.
So, but Laird retained the rights to publish up to 18 black and white issues a year. So that's pretty cool. He said, you can have everything else, but I want to be able to publish 18 comic books a year if I wanted. Then we had the Michael Bay movie in 2014. I'm sure, Mike-El, you love that.
Yeah, I saw it at the theater. That was actually supposed to be the second ever Comic Book Syndicate movie review, but we hated it so much we just didn't talk about it.
I didn't hate it.
I think it was before your time, Jolie, but anyway.
What?
2014.
Yeah,
Was it
the
before?
2007 or 8, right?
2014 was the Michael Bay.
Oh, wait. I'm thinking of the 2007. Don't forget. See,
Yeah.
you skipped. Yeah, the 2007
There was a computer animated.
Right. Yeah. There was
Yeah,
the
'cause it
computer
was-
animated one in 2007. And then, sorry, the one you're talking about, Mike-DELL, yes, we did boycott that one. I did at least. Yeah.
You did because it's Michael Bay.
Yeah.
All told, there have been 6 feature films based on the Turtles, and there's a 7th in the production right now as we speak, I believe. So,
I can't wait.
But get a load of this. In 1988, so they created that first, self-published book in 1984. In 1988, the Turtles grossed $175 million in just merchandising.
Wow.
In 1989, a year later, that number jumped to $350 million. And by 1994, all told, the Turtles had earned more than $6 billion in merchandising.
Oh, my God.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if nephews and nieces are any indication, they put out a new line every single year of Turtles.
Yeah.
But think how crazy that is that these two guys, Eastman 22, Laird 30, like just goofing around. They just started as a joke. Like, I guess Eastman drew a little picture of a turtle standing on his 2 legs and with nunchucks, and they just were Ninja Turtles. And then Laird came in and like refined the drawing and put Teenage Mutant over top of it, and they're just goofing around, having fun. 4 years later, it's making hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's incredible.
That's the thing that's most impressive to me about this is that it's just one of those like napkin idea type things. And then reading the first issue over again, it's like, oh yeah, this is definitely something that like if a creator friend of mine, and there have been a few where I've read their books and been like, this is going to be something big. This is the kind of thing that if a friend of mine handed me, I'd be like, who are you, secret genius? Like, wow. Like, it's just so like, if we're going to talk about the comic now, like if it's just like really clean, like really well done.
Well, I want to talk more about their relationship because creative differences strain their relationship between Eastman and Laird. And,
well, you can see that, yeah.
And they pretty much quit talking to each other by after 1993. And Eastman moved to California, yes, and Laird stayed in Massachusetts. So they were still friendly, but they just weren't in each other's lives, I would say.
No, and I mean, when was it that? In the year 2000, like.
Yep. Laird purchased out Eastman's rights in 2000.
Yeah, I mean,
but
maybe Eastman was hard up. I don't know.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. Eastman was kind of he had a lot of debt, and he didn't buy out all his rights. Eastman still retained like some aspect of it, like he could still get income from it. But and then
royalties.
Yeah, the final buyout, the complete buyout, wasn't finalized until 2008. So for another 8 years, he was still cashing in on some Turtle stuff. But then they finally bought him out in 2008. And then in 2011, Eastman actually returned to the fold, and he started working as a writer and an artist for the Ninja Turtles, like an animated series and the comic book again.
That's right, yeah.
How about that? And I think he was an advisor for the 2014 movie. But one of the reasons why Eastman ran into trouble financially was he started Tundra Publishing in 1990.
That's right.
And Tundra, do you know about? Can you tell people about Tundra, Mike-El? Do you know about?
I don't know much, but didn't they publish? Was it Big Numbers by Alan Moore and Bill Sienkiewicz?
Yep.
Was that them?
Yep. See, his idea was he wanted to have, because he got frustrated with the creative control through the cartoons and everything. So he wanted to start something that would give artists and creators more creative control. So that was the idea behind Tundra Publishing, where these other creators could come in and just own their rights to the properties and just publish what they want. So it's kind of like Image before Image in a way.
Yeah,
right.
like, so they did From Hell,
Yep.
Lost Girls.
Yep.
They did Mad Men by Mike Allred. They did Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. They did some very important titles.
Right.
And he was also very instrumental in the whole Creators Bill of Rights thing that was going on back then.
Right, yeah.
So, but sadly, Tundra only lasted 3 years. It ended in 1993, and all told, Eastman ended up losing between $9 and $14 million. So that's why he kind of needed to sell it. Also at this time, Mike-El, this might mean something to you. I doubt if Jolie knows who this lady is, but from 1995 to 2007, Eastman was married to Julie Strain.
Who's that?
You don't know Julie Strain? She was very famous in the 90s. She was a Penthouse pet. She was in a lot of B movies.
No, I don't.
Very tall brunette, very buxom. You might recognize her, but she was quite famous in the 90s. So, well, American though. Up in Canada, I don't know if you guys have that sort of thing.
No, so what does this have to do with turtles?
Well, he was in a very famous relationship with a lady, and they ended up getting divorced. So it just goes into like he needed money, basically. That's what I'm saying. You know.
So she wanted him just for his looks, in other words, right?
Yeah, I'm sure she was a big fan of the turtles. Mm-hmm. So then, also Eastman purchased the heavy metal sci-fi and fantasy mag in 1992. Are you familiar with this, Mike-El?
Yes, I have several issues. Yep.
And he sold it in 2014, but he remains the publisher of that.
For anyone, Julie, how do you pronounce this in French? Metal Hurlant? Hurlant?
Hurlant?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so so it was famous in Europe first, and then there was the American version, heavy metal, then there was the cartoon movie, and now it's the editor-in-chief is Grant Morrison, so that's why I was buying it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
So while Eastman was doing that kind of stuff to help creators with Tundra, Laird in 1992, he started the Zarek Foundation, which, Eastman's was to give creators the opportunity to create. Laird's organization was all about giving them the funding. And he just said, we'll fund you, give you grants, and then you go do what you want to do, you know? So that's what it was. It was a foundation set up to give grants to independent publishers and, self-publishers of comics. And one of the grant winners over the years was a fellow named Jeff Lemire.
Really?
You mean Jeff Lemire in 2005?
Yeah, of Essex County fame, right?
Nice.
Black Hammer. And is that what it was? Black Hammer? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Black Hammer. Yep.
Yeah. So there you go.
What comic was that for? Was that for Lost Dogs or?
Yeah, it would have been for Lost Dogs.
Cool. Nice.
A couple other little notes here. In 2012, that original turtle sketch that Eastman and Laird did sold at an auction for $71,700.
Wow.
In 2019, Eastman and Laird were reunited for the Netflix show The Toys That Made Us.
Oh, I watched that episode. It was great.
That was the first time they had talked in years, and they kind of, rekindled their relationship, and the duo then is currently collaborating on The Last Ronin, which will be a new Ninja Turtles story that should be published in the summer of 2020.
Wow.
So how about that? So there you go. Jolie, anything else you'd like to add to that history of Eastman and Laird or anything else?
I mean, that seems pretty concise.
Okay, hold on, Mike-DELL. You've made a glaring error here. You just talked about the Ninja Turtles for like 10 minutes, and you didn't even mention Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, I think that was on purpose. Pretty sure that was on purpose.
Is it a joke I'm unaware of?
No, he did the turtle rap for Ninja Turtles 2. I was waiting for that. Come on.
Secret of the Ooze.
That's right.
I also found some little trivial bit that apparently Axl Rose once postponed or was late to a Guns N' Roses concert because he was so engrossed into watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze.
Really?
And he would not leave until he was done watching the movie, so the concert was delayed until he got done watching the movie.
I think I was at that concert.
Another little trivia bit about the Turtles, I guess. Originally, they're black and white, of course. And then when they went to cover comics, they all wore red bandanas.
That's right.
Yes.
No different colored bandanas. So
apparently, we're all supposed to know who they are by what they wield. But
by the weapons. Yep.
Yeah, fortunately, they color-coded them, and it made it so much easier.
Yeah. But I mean, in the black and white days, hey, that's all you had to do. Look at the weapons. So, all right. So let's get into the book now, I guess. 1984. Mike-El, would you like to do the background?
All right. Do you want me to do this, Julie, or do you want to have the honors?
I mean, it's all up to you guys. it's your show, so.
Well, go ahead and start it off, Mike-El.
Okay, sure. And then you guys can jump in, whatever. Okay, so so we start off here with first-person narration by Leonardo describing, that him and the turtles are about to engage in fisticuffs. Yep. And without seeing who they're fighting yet, we cut to this big splash page of them all jumping forward with the big name here, Eastman and Laird's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then we see that they're fighting this gang of hooligans. These are nobodies, right? Yeah, just punks. But
they're the Purple Gang.
Oh, that's right, the Purple Gang, yeah.
The Purple Dragons. Right, so nobodies.
Yeah.
And these guys have
the Purple Gang was a legit gang back then. Yeah. Like, I know it sounds stupid, but, and also like Jailhouse Rock, I think the gang was the Purple Gang, right? That song.
Oh, I didn't know that, really?
Yeah. So I'm sure they may have been going for something like that with this.
Okay. So yeah, so these guys have guns, but the turtles obviously have their weapons, so they make short work of them. And I don't know, there's not really much to talk about. It's just a lot of fighting here, a lot of Frank Miller-esque fighting in these first couple pages. A lot of hard-boiled, inner monologue and description of what's going on. Then the cops show up and they.
We should mention that this fight scene, it's not like a cartoon. Like there's blood. They're cutting them up.
It's very violent. Yeah, like for those that haven't read this is very violent. Like we said, inspired by Frank Miller. Most people are familiar with Frank Miller from what's it called, Sin City and 300. So this is Frank Miller-esque violence for sure. So then the cops come, and then they all escape down a a manhole into the sewer, and then we basically, I love this. So then they cut over to them meeting back up with their master Splinter, and he decides that this is a perfect time to explain their origin to them.
Well, he does it because he says they're now finally ready to go on the mission that he's been training them for.
Right.
So that gives a perfect excuse. This is how you do exposition well, though. This is nice. This is because the turtles don't know this. They don't know why they're being trained. So he's explaining everything to the turtles and to the reader. Bad exposition is when you're explaining things to the reader that the characters already know. But it's well.
You mean like, tell me again why we're here?
Yes.
You mean like that? Yeah.
Can you tell us the story again, Splinter?
Yes.
Please?
That's exactly it. But here the turtles don't know why they've been trained all these years either. So then they're finally they're learning it with us. They're learning it together.
And and that's what I mean by like, it's just some clean, simple storytelling that I'm really honestly super impressed with.
It's well done. We should point out one thing, though. I noticed in the notes before, Jolie mentioned how there's a little, what's the word I want to say? The front material about the guy and the comic convention and stuff. And then there's a little note by Laird, and he mentions that they did update the dialogue a bit.
Yes. I noticed one part, but I'll talk about that later.
I'm interested in, I would like to compare the original version with this to see exactly how much better it is. Maybe they did make it much better. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so sorry, moving on. I guess I don't know if we have to completely describe everything. Go ahead,
what were you going to say?
I mean, other than that, he tells them, this is why I'm training you. This is what happened in my past life. My sensei was murdered by another gentleman who is now known to the world as Shredder, and I want you to go and kill Shredder.
The two rival senseis fought, and the Shredder's actually the brother of the sensei, right?
Yes. The one, okay, yeah, so back up. So let's just go through this. So back up a minute here. So first we see Shredder as a rat in this cage watching his master.
Well, no, Splinter as a rat.
Splinter. Splinter is a rat in this cage, and he's watching his master do some training. And it's funny because I remember the movie follows the plot of the comic book fairly closely, and this scene is in the movie. I don't know if you remember that. But the audience laughed, and not in like a condescending way, more in like a this is awesome way. Like this little puppet rat was like doing kung fu or whatever, ninjutsu in its cage. So yeah, the rat is following his master. And so then he starts to, so his master's name is Yoshi, right? Is that his master or is that the other guy?
I have no idea.
Did I lose everybody? Yeah, so let's see here. Yeah, it's so
Yoshi.
Yoshi.
Yep.
Yeah, so Yoshi was one of the famous Foot Clan, the most feared warriors and assassins in all Japan. Another member of the Foot Clan, Oroku Nagi, was Yoshi's rival. He and my master competed fiercely in all things, especially for the love of a young woman, Tang Shen. So then it goes from there. So basically, there are these rivals, and it ends up being that the bad guy ends up attacking the woman.
Yep.
Oh no, because he basically tries to rape her, right? And then when she resists, he's getting all violent with her. So then
Yoshi kills him.
What's his name? Yoshi kills him, and then
the
And
brothers.
then they run away.
Yeah, they run away to America, and they start training martial arts. And then the brother of the guy who Yoshi killed, it becomes Shredder, and he hunts him down.
Right, he vows revenge.
Yeah.
Yes. So then
it's really weird because he is trained up so much that they send him to the United States to be the head of the New York branch of the Foot Clan.
Yep. Yeah.
Because they have branches.
Yeah. I mean, you got to. If you're going to dominate the world, you got to start somewhere, and New York is a good place. So, yeah, you got to branch out. You know?
Yeah, so it even says here they're involved in drug smuggling, arms running, assassination, and then Saki, now called the Shredder, was very successful. So now he's Shredder. Yeah. And so then my master Yoshi came home that evening, never expecting that his most dangerous enemy lay in wait. Entering the apartment, Yoshi's gaze fell upon the still silent form of his beloved Shen. Then he saw her kill her. So then Shredder's there, and Shredder kills, what's his name?
Yes.
Yes.
Yoshi. Yes, Shredder killed the lady, and then he killed Yoshi.
Yeah, so then Splinter, in the struggle, my cage was smashed. I was free, but my master was dead. In my grief, I wandered the streets living on scraps of garbage and fighting off feral alley cats. This is so awesome. Then we basically, like you said earlier, this is important. This is where we intersect with the origin of Daredevil.
Yep.
So then, one day, everything changed. While I was searching in the trash can for my next meal, I witnessed a near accident. An old blind man crossing the street was almost run down by a large truck. And basically, we see Daredevil's origin from a different point of view. And we find out that this canister of radioactive liquid that knocked Matt Murdock in the face and blinded him, then rolled away and smashed his bowl of turtles. And then, unnoticed by the crowd, the canister bounced several more times, ultimately smashing a boy's glass bowl, which held 4 small turtles. You 4, as infants, along with the canister, you fell into an open manhole. Fortunately, a pile of dead leaves, old newspapers, and other what is this? Detritus broke your fall. Detritus. But the canister split open, releasing a glowing green ooze, which covered your bodies as you crawled around in it.
Secret of the ooze. But look at Splinter. He's collecting them in a bucket, and he looks like a human rat already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just kind of
the way
funny.
He's picking up the bucket and picking up the turtles, and I don't know.
It's funny.
Maybe this is where the art duties splintered.
I mean, it's good drawing. It's just I don't know how. I don't think at this point in the story when he's describing this, he hasn't been touched by the ooze yet, I don't think. Because then he says later he started to...
Right.
It just seems weird a rat's going around with a bucket collecting turtles.
And he's using his hands, his arms, like his legs, 4 legs, whatever they're called, as if they're arms. But it's funny because, so he puts them in this coffee can, and then basically overnight their size doubles, and then after a year they've grown, and then he's like... somehow the ooze has affected your growth. As I learned later, it had changed me also, making me more intelligent and larger as well. But I didn't grow as quickly as you did. Fascinating. Within a year, you had reached your current size. You followed me everywhere I went. Though I did not allow you above ground, I could not risk you being discovered. And then so basically, so this is awesome. So this is where they start talking, okay?
Yes. So
he's like, I was not prepared for what happened one day. Splinter? One of you actually said a word, my name. More words followed, and shortly you were all speaking. Now, this is the part that I compared, because I do have a copy of the original dialogue, and when they say they say radical, pizza, Star Trek, Motsugutsu, that's actually, in the original comic, it was just those little gobbledygook lines of nothing.
Oh, okay.
You know? So there's definitely parts where they updated the dialogue, and that's one example.
I just think Star Trek is a weird choice, right?
Yeah, because I don't remember them referencing Star Trek in the cartoon or anything. But
Just out of anywhere. Star Trek.
yeah, throw that in there. But anyway, so then basically he begins training them, and of course using a battered copy of a book on Renaissance art that I had found in the storm drain. I had chosen names for each of you, which of course everyone knows: Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael. And
I guess Botticelli is too many syllables.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess Michelangelo was always the weird one because that wasn't his first name, right? Or it was his last name? I don't know. Julie, you'd know.
Michelangelo?
Yeah, like the actual Michelangelo. What was his full name?
Hold on. This is where you cut.
I think it was Daryl.
Michelangelo is his first name. His whole name is De Ludovico Buonarroti Simoni.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right.
I pulled it out of that Renaissance textbook that I threw in the gutter.
So
where it belongs.
Which coincidentally is the exact Renaissance textbook I learned from to get my art history degree. Anyway, back to the comic.
So they're on their mission here. So this is who's narrating? Is this Raphael? Raphael. I am Raphael Ninja Turtle. By the way, you didn't ask me, Mike-EL, but this was my favorite turtle.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
That's okay.
No one asked me. My favorite was Leonardo.
Really? Because he's the leader?
That's exactly right.
Right.
I'm a leader of men.
Donatello is the one with the orange bandana, right?
No, that's Michelangelo. Donatello's purple.
Got it. Okay. Then Michelangelo's my favorite, I guess. Because he was always the one eating pizza.
Yes. He's the guy that's always eating pizza. He's got the nunchucks and yeah.
Right. So anyway, so now Raphael's on a mission to send a message. So he's at this old warehouse type building thing. And he beats up some guards, and then he goes over to this window, and inside he sees Shredder talking to some guys, and he throws in his what is that called?
Sai.
His sai. He throws it in, and it's got
a note attached to it.
A huge note attached to it.
Yeah.
Oroku Saki, also known as the Shredder. You have shamed and dishonored the name of your family by murdering Hamato Yoshi. I give you the chance to regain your honor. Meet my 4 students for a duel to the death tomorrow night at the following address.
That is such the equivalent of are you ready for a street fight, Brian? Yeah. Click check yes or no.
Yes, no. Exactly.
My only, do you think it's fair though that they're saying, "Hey, we'll fight you to a duel to a death," but there's 4 of us and only 1 of you, so you got to show up. I don't know if that's fair.
Maybe it isn't fair, but I mean, he is supposed to be like a master, right? And they're just teenagers, so.
I suppose, and they're turtles.
Yeah, exactly.
The shell makes it cumbersome to do ninjutsu. Yeah,
you'd think that they'd make Shredder another kind of animal, right? Like, I don't know, a vulture or something.
I don't know. Well, Shredder wasn't in the alley, getting
oozed.
Yeah,
oozed,
mutated. Yeah.
So you can't be.
So basically, now the turtles are at the top. They're climbing to the top of this building. Like, Shredder, here we are, and they are waiting for Shredder to show up. And then Shredder's like, "Who are these freakish fools?" So then he comes down, and then they have their big confrontation. Come face your doom. And then he's got the foot with him. I was gonna say the hand, but no.
It's the foot.
And then there's this big double-page spread of everybody fighting each other.
It's great.
Yep. Fisticuffs ensue. There's some cool art techniques on these pages that I think was Zipatone at the time. I can hear Jolie chewing something, I think. I don't know if
gummy bears.
Okay. And so anyway.
Turtles for this shit.
So then it's actually kind of cool. There's one really cool effect where they're fighting, and then Shredder's like, "Yes, so I see. They were good men, my best. I see, too, that they have left their mark." And there's just a silent panel of the turtles all cut up with blood, right? It's a pretty cool way to, do that. I thought that was cool. Anyway.
I think it's important to mention, though, before you move on, that the zip tone was added after.
What do you mean?
By Eastman.
Describe zip tone for the kids who don't know what it means.
So the zip tone is the dots that represent like shades of light, shades of dark. So the dots are smaller as you get lighter. The dots are bigger as you get darker. But it's those dots that are in the background that kind of are supposed to give tone or to colorless objects, or not a tone or what is texture.
Yeah, so like not the zip tone isn't used on every panel, but a lot of the panels there's zip tone in the background.
Yeah, and
Right.
in some of the sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but in some of the panels they're used in the way anime uses it to kind of give the impression of clouds. And I think, I mean, if we're gonna, do you want to talk about this later?
No, keep rolling, keep going.
Oh, okay. Well, in the foreword of the issue, Eastman talks about how this is something that he always wanted to do to the comic, and I feel like maybe that was a contributing factor to the creative differences.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like, now that because the version I read, which is the one where they redid all of this stuff, is the zip tone one. They also redid the lettering, which is terrible. But yeah.
Well, yeah. So it's important to point out that the computer, like what we're seeing in this version, is our computer effects that are mimicking zip tone, but the original has actual zip tone. And I'm looking at a color. I can send you this link. I have a color copy, so it's not exactly the original, but you can see how the original zip tone is slightly different. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can tell which ones are digital, which ones aren't, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like
so
there's.
I was going to say that's one of the things that made it stand out back in that time was the zip tone, as far as I know, anyway.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Well, I will say this, that I like the panels without the zip tone better. It's just I don't.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah.
Yeah, like in some panels, it's kind of nice to add sort of the breakup, like when you're just looking at walls. And where they didn't like render in texture, they have zip tone, that's fine. But like sometimes it's just really overused.
Yes.
And if you don't look at a full page altogether and notice that like the zip tone is just really aggressive, then to the eye at least, then it's kind of like where you see Shredder's like kind of perched on the building and you see the turtles in shadow, I would have just omitted all of the zip tone and just went with blacks and whites.
Yeah, I think the art looks much, much better when it's just the blacks and whites. I thought this was
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just me.
Okay, so we're fighting. We see the turtles bloodied.
Yeah, sorry, I got a million tabs. I'm just jumping back to that. I was looking at the other one. So then basically, so they're all bloody. So then now it's time for the final showdown, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's it. Fisticuffs, cutting, kicking, punching, throwing, a lot of blood. And then, I think this is Leonardo. He's like, he is too skilled for us to fight one-on-one, brothers. Remember, Master Splinter's teachings use group tactics and hit from a distance. So then, which is the one with the throwing stars? Is that just one of them, or they all have them?
They all pretty much have throwing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he throws them, and another one throws these other little things. And then dodge these, master. And then I think that's Raphael throws his size. And then curse you. Sorry, you going to say something?
No, I mean, I just don't know why they don't look at him and go, oh, wow, a guy covered in spikes. I know I won't use a ranged attack. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, they immediately, they try to solo the boss and, like, wonder why it doesnn't work.
Well,
he's covered in blades.
But, they're teenagers, Jolie. Come on, cut them some slack. They're teenagers. They're learning their craft.
Yes.
But eventually Leonardo just stabs him right through the gut.
Right. Now you are beaten. So finish it, fools. I'm helpless. Slay me now. We turtles are not dogs without honor. Unlike you, Aruko Saki, I will grant you one chance to redeem your honor. So then he basically tells him, take this blade and commit seppuku. Is that how you pronounce it? When you kill yourself, right? When you commit suicide, ritual suicide.
Yeah.
So then he's like, if I must kill myself, I will take all of you turtles with me. This thermite grenade will wipe the rooftop clean of all life, including you. I don't know where he got that from, but he's got a thermite grenade. And so then it's I think Leonardo throws his staff and like
Donatello.
Oh, Donatello throws his staff and hits him in the face and then knocks him off the building. And then that's it. He falls and it's over, my brothers. Our mission is accomplished. Our avenger, or our master's master is avenged.
Their master's master is avenged. Right. And I love how they're just like so impressionable teenagers, if you will, that they're just like, yes, master, we'll avenge your master.
Yeah, he groomed him from a young age to serve him.
But I love the pun. It seems that he's been shredded.
It seems that the shredder has been shredded. They've been watching like Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think, right?
They must be, yeah.
But here's my question. So they go to the bottom of the building, then they're leaving. They're walking out and they see a piece of his shredder, his armor there. And that's when they make the little joke. He's been shredded. But so I guess the implication is Shredder survived and he escaped, even though he's been stabbed through the gut and thrown off the building.
We don't see a body. Doesn't mean he's there. Yeah.
Seems weird. And that's how it ends. And then there's a nice picture at the end of the four turtles, and they're throwing away Shredder's armor like garbage. And we strike hard and fade away into the night because we are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah.
Like you said, very serious. There's no, like, they were definitely taking it seriously when they were doing this.
Yes.
Sure. The end. That is it.
So there you go. What'd you think, Jolie?
I mean, I loved it. It's so good. It's so just like this happened because of this, and this happened as a result of those things happening, and that's it. That's it.
That's actually plotting. That's what you're doing. Plotting. Yeah.
No like side quests. No over exposition. Just like cut and dry. And I really appreciate that. And maybe that's, I don't know what that came from. I don't know what their backgrounds are in writing, other than that Laird worked in comics already for a newspaper. But like, they just knew how to get to the action. They got to the action. They resolved the issue, and that was it.
Yep. It's a very simple story, but well done. The dialogue was fine. The art is definitely like... when he's drawing humans, I don't know. Again, I don't know how they divided up the art, if who did what, but the humans are weak. I mean,
they're terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a teenager high school art kind of thing.
Right.
But the turtles and the style is very consistent, and so even though it's not the greatest art, it's very consistent and solid, and it tells the story. So no major complaints. You know.
I think it's like anything. It's like. Yeah, we're judging this by a different standard. Like, it's kind of like when you watch a movie and the movie's zero budget. There's obviously things you have to forgive, but at the very least, it's really original. It's charming, right? Like, it doesn't feel like a manufactured cookie cutter Marvel or DC comic, right?
Yeah, and like while the figures and some of the poses may be wrong, anatomically incorrect or just not polished or refined, there are still some really nice panels, where the style works. Right.
Like, even if you look at page 7, there's a really cool shot of all the turtles kind of just poised, ready to strike. Like, no, they just finished the fight right before the cops arrive. They're looking at the camera. That's a cool shot. Yeah. The next page, there's a few shots of them running, and it's not nearly as good. So I wonder if that's one of the art. Like, maybe the first one was one artist, and the next page was the other, and they were just switching off. But I think that it is inconsistent sometimes, but overall it works, Go ahead.
I really liked it, like I said, better when it was just the black and the white and the heavy inks. I think that's when it looks the best, with the heavy blacks.
Right.
But
it still took a choice, like the specific way that they draw the turtles' faces, with the way that they've got the teeth at the side and the beak or the nose kind of coming down, like that still is a smart artistic choice, right? Like, they didn't have to draw them that way, so yeah, it's cool. And you can also see on the cover that we're looking at, their art obviously improved over the years, right? Like, they got to be much better. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, again, I don't think it's hard to judge it. I wouldn't say it's a great story or it's great art, but it definitely has its charms. It's like listening to like an old demo by like the Beatles or something, when it's technically, it sounds like junk, but there's so much promise there. You can see it,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with any of it. Jolie, if your rating can get 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I would give this comic book a 9.
Wow. All right. Fair enough. Mike-El?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I guess I have to include a historical importance, and I'll give it a 7. But it's certainly not like a great story, but it's definitely important and it's charming.
Yeah, but I think it's a good, simple, solid story. I'll give it a 7 as well.
Right.
I could have used a lot less zip tone.
Yeah.
And again, the art is very rudimentary, but it's charming. And some of it is really good, though. Like, I really do like some of the panels. So
yeah, I mean, the interiors and all of the architecture are really well done.
Yeah.
I think so, at least.
Yep. No, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the other question is, does this entice you to want to read more?
See, well, that's the thing, is that I think, and that's why I'm giving it a 9, is that I've been listening to the other episodes of Flea Market Fantasy and just kind of like trying to get into the books that you guys are reading, or like get into the books that anyone else is suggesting, really. And in comparison, if I were given this to some of the other things I've been reading, this Ninja Turtles book makes me want to read more Ninja Turtles. It doesn't make me want to go research Ninja Turtle movies. It doesn't make me want to go, like, you know what I mean? I want to read Ninja Turtle comics. And I feel like that's kind of a flaw in some of the superhero comics of the past and today. It doesn't make me want, those comics don't make me want to read more comics. Those comics make me want to seek out other media involving those characters. And this is different for me. So this is where I can say that they've not leveled the playing field, but they've kind of like, you know, upped the ante a little bit more.
Yeah. I would say I really like the comic book incarnation of the Ninja Turtles better than the cartoon and movie one. Like, I like the more serious Turtles.
Yeah, it's like it's also like it's like kind of the difference between watching a CW TV show and like then watching an independent movie. There's just, because you know that this was, it's got that do-it-yourself charm to it, right? It's more personal and more, I think, unpredictable. So you know that if you were to read more issues, you kind of don't ever know where it's going to go, right? Because they're just making this in their kitchen or out of their basement or whatever. Whereas Marvel and DC are kind of just churning 50 comics out a month, right? They don't really care about any of them. So, well, maybe they do, but not all of them. But you know what I mean? There's a difference.
Yeah, if there's just one title, then yeah, I would continue to read Spider-Man. But because there's 6 different or whatever, however many titles there are, it's just like, oh, there's a lot to catch up on, and it's really daunting. But to know that I'm reading this one Ninja Turtles comic, and that, like, you know, issue 2, like a reprint of issue 2 is just like sitting in one of my back issue boxes. It's like, no, I'm gonna go dig that out now. Now I'm actually gonna read it.
Yeah, you know what? I want to adjust my score. I'm giving it an 8, so I'll be right between Mike-El and Jolie. We'll go 7, 8, 9, the three of us.
There you go.
because I really do like. You got to remember, this is the first book they ever did, and it's really impressive, the setup they have, the foundation for the characters and the story, and so yeah, it's a really good job.
Oh, I also got to point out one quick thing before we wrap up, that before Eastman and Laird met with whoever they did the cartoon, they did meet with Marvel Comics first, but Marvel wanted to keep, like, I don't know what, X% of the profits, like 90% of the profits, and apparently Eastman and Laird like fell off their chairs laughing and just walked out of the room. And,
smartest decision they ever made.
Right, and they kept the rights, and that's the key thing, and that's why like they became millionaires, right? Because they never sold the rights. Well, they did eventually, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, definitely.
It really does pave the way, because like he went off and created his own comic book company. You see that now in Image, like. It's important.
Right. This is an important step in creator rights for comic book creators, for sure.
Some of the most innovative ideas don't come from the big two. Like, I will defend that. Like
Yeah, I would say all the best ideas don't come from the big two, right? I mean, in terms of creativity.
Yeah. And if they really want to shake stuff up, I mean, we're. I don't mean to date our podcast, but we're filming this in a time of crisis. So if they really want to shake things up and see people return to the physical medium, they're going to have to, I think, stray away from their sort of wheelhouse. I don't know.
Well, I know what you're saying, but I think the thing is because comic book creators know that movie rights and optioning movies can make the creators thousands of dollars, if not millions, that they know, well, like, I'm not going to waste my good ideas and give them away to DC and Marvel. I'm going to keep them for myself and publish them under Image or someone else. Then that way, when a studio options the rights, I get to keep all the profits, right? So I think that's why all the good ideas now do not come from Marvel and DC.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. Anyway.
But is it for lack of? I mean, this is a topic for another podcast. But is it for a lack of trying?
What do you mean?
Like, it's not like they actively they specifically state that they're not looking for new properties. They're not shopping for new characters. They just want talent.
It could be because they don't want to get tangled up with because let's put it this way, the way that they have the rights locked down for their older characters like Spider-Man and those are locked. But if somebody comes in now and creates something, maybe there's different rights laws or something where they go, well, we don't want to have to worry about a new character that we might have to give money to the guy every time we license it out. We'd rather just stick with the well-known properties that we already have.
Yeah.
That's probably it. Anyway.
Yep. Sorry, any other final thoughts on Turtles? Anything?
No, I'm like really excited about the movie now. The newer movie. Yeah. Oh. I mean, I didn't mind the one that came out, the Michael Bay one. It wasn't like great, but it wasn't terrible either. I would like to see them as puppets though, like as costumes.
Me too. Like, Mike-DELL, when was the last time you watched the movie from 1990?
1990.
Okay. Because I just watched it like about 5 years ago, and it's pretty darn entertaining.
Really?
Yeah, it is, surprisingly.
I guess we should mention other Turtle characters. April O'Neil.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Casey Jones.
Yeah, Casey Jones. The vigilante with the hockey mask.
Yep.
Casey
Yeah.
Jones.
I was going to say, when you first asked me what my favorite turtle was, and I was like, well, April and Casey aren't turtles, but I love them.
Yeah, like Casey Jones was basically kind of like their Punisher, right? In a way?
Yeah.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Without guns, but he was like, he had the same sort of mindset, I would say.
Yeah, he's like a vigilante.
Yeah.
And I think at first he kind of was like, he was kind of supposed to, was he written as a villain? And then he ended up being a comrade?
I have no idea.
I don't think so. I think he was always just, he was just a guy that was around and he just joined in with them, I think, from what I remember.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
You know, the other big villains were, who was that pink blob, that guy? Like a brain?
Oh my God.
Krang.
Yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah. And we didn't even mention Bebop and Rocksteady, did we?
Yeah. Yeah, because again, these were all cartoon. Were they ever in the comics, or are they all cartoon creations?
I think they were only in the cartoons, as far as I know.
Yeah, because that's what I'm wondering. Jolie, if you read more Turtles, let me know how it goes. Because who do they fight now? Like, Shredder's dead. So what are their other adventures? Do they?
Exactly.
Well, no, Shredder's not dead. But I have read up till, I think I like I said, I had a scattered handful of issues, and I think they kill him in number like 21 or something. So I'm not sure what happens after
Kill
that.
him again in number 20. Did they throw him off 2 buildings and stab him twice in the belly?
Yeah.
They finally kill him. All right. Well, that's something.
It's all that ninjutsu training that he's able to heal apparently as well. It's part of the it's part of the ancient ways.
I'm just glad that thermite grenade didn't blow up when they threw it off the building.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking that too. Ridiculous.
Yeah, is a thermite? Yeah, it's like, is a thermite grenade the kind you twist the top and then throw, or I didn't see a pin, any kind of apparatus. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? That high-tech shredder armory. All right, so there you go. The Turtles, 1984. We enjoyed it. So next week, Mike-El, I guess
here we
it's
go.
back to me. It's back to me.
What's it going to be?
I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about this part of the show.
Oh, so you didn't pick it?
Yeah. But I went back and I found a book that I wanted to read from 1980, Avengers number 196. Avengers 196. Because this is the first appearance of a fella named Taskmaster.
Oh, okay.
I love the Taskmaster.
Really?
I think he's one of the coolest villains in Marvel Comics. So
interesting.
Well, I don't remember. I think this is George Perez, his era.
Okay.
I can't remember who wrote it though.
Probably is it Jim Shooter maybe or
I don't know.
okay.
I don't think it's Shooter.
It's funny because I've been waiting to slot in my own issue of Avengers, but I think you picked two now, so I keep.
That's
I
my
keep
second
waiting.
Avengers.
So yeah, but whatever. We'll get another one in one day.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess that wraps up this week's episode, right?
Yeah, thanks to Jolie.
Yes,
You're very
absolutely.
welcome.
I think-
3 appearances away from that smoking jacket, Jolie.
Yep. Was that the first non-Marvel DC we've done? I think so, right?
Sure.
I think so. Yeah. Wow.
What was it? I was going to ask. Oh, Jolie, you going to pick an Archie comic at some point?
Yes, that's what I was actually thinking about for the next time I guest on on the show. And I mean, I'm in self-quarantine, so I have a lot of time. I hope you have a lot of room for me on the show.
I've never read an Archie comic, so yeah, maybe you can redo Archie.
Yep, maybe we'll go all the way to Kevin Kelly. I have so many ideas.
All right. Good job. All right, thanks, Jolie.
You're very
All right,
welcome.
yeah, thank you, Julie. All right, so everybody, if you're listening out there, this is Flea Market Fantasy. You can find us on Comic Book Syndicate on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, on the Comic Book Syndicate website. Every week we review a different Bronze Age comic. Be sure to join us. Be sure to comment. Be sure to let us know what you think of our reviews. Maybe you can give us some picks. So far, our total number of comments and emails is 0, so let's get that number up. So anyway, this has been Flea Market Fantasy. So until next Tuesday, disperse!